This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision? It's stupid. And I'm going to tell you why it's stupid. I want all the ladies on this squad to know every single one of y'all are deserving of it. Caitlin Clark does not deserve a spot ahead of any of the players on this roster. Okay? If we're talking just basketball, you know we're not. You know we're not.
Something just happened that turned the entire sports media world on its head. No teaser, no slow build, just one move that detonated timelines and instantly revealed who was ready for the moment and who was scrambling to keep up. The reactions got louder, the hot takes got sloppier, and one very familiar voice unraveled in real time. Now everyone's debating what it means, but almost no one is asking the question that actually matters. And that's where this story really begins.
Are we ready to admit the Caitlin Clark effect? Is this happening without Caitlin Clark? Without the popularity, because we've seen what happened to the ratings when she was out for those 2-3 weeks. Remember that, right? Don't let me bring that up. Don't let me get some receipts now. When Caitlin Clark was out, the WNBA's popularity dissipated. That is a fact.
The meltdown didn't start with fireworks. It started with disbelief, the kind that makes a grown man freeze mid-sentence like the signal from reality just cut out. Somewhere between outrage and pure confusion, Stephen A. Smith looked like his soul briefly exited the studio the second the news broke that Caitlin Clark was done with Team USA.
Have popularity, she's number one and it's not even close. Do you want to have Caitlin Clark on the roster? And if you do, who you taking off? And how do you tell that person, hey, we want to have the popular girl on? And Caitlin Clark has been playing basketball for almost 10 consecutive months now. She could use a break. I don't want to speak on her behalf, but from what I've seen, she's gone through an awful lot. This is what Team USA is probably worried about. Caitlin Clark's on the bench and she's not getting any run. And then the fans get upset. Now, that was reported by Christine Brennan.
Not injured, not benched, not resting for precautionary reasons. Just gone voluntarily, calmly, like she had somewhere better to be. And judging by the reaction, that single decision didn't just surprise sports television. It completely shattered its emotional infrastructure.
If USA Women's Basketball was assembling this Olympic squad and they said, strictly based on the numbers, while Caitlin Clark is an outstanding basketball player, we just don't think she's there yet. And we don't want to take away a spot from someone else that we believe is more deserving from a basketball standpoint, even though we know that she brings millions of eyeballs to the sport. If they left her off this roster because there's concern that her millions of fans would be upset with the amount of playing time that she has, that is absolutely ridiculous.
This wasn't just a player stepping away. This was the chosen one refusing the crown. The golden goose politely excusing herself from the dinner table while everyone else was still sharpening their knives. And Stephen A. Smith took it personally. Not professionally, personally. The kind of personally where veins start auditioning for a Marvel movie and common sense gets politely escorted out by security.
She's white. And because of that, when you consider some of the hard times other people gave her, they were resentful of the fact that this white girl came on the scene where there was a bunch of sisters that preceded her spanning decades that were big time that deserved a lot of credit. I mean, people looked at the Cheryl Swoops of the world, the Maya Moores of the world, and others, and they said, yo, there was a bunch of people that came before her that did big things for the WNBA. I respect it. It is right. I appreciate it. But whiteness does have its privileges.
Because in Stephen A. Smith's universe, Team USA isn't just a basketball program, it's Mount Olympus. And Caitlin Clark declining an invitation wasn't treated like a career choice. It was framed as an act of international betrayal. Somewhere, an eagle probably shed a single patriotic tear. The outrage hit fast, loud, and layered with dramatic disbelief. How could anyone turn down the honor, the privilege, the chance to wear the jersey, hear the anthem, and bask in the patriotic glow of a tournament that half the country only tunes into for the men? This was supposed to be the coronation. The moment Caitlin Clark became everyone's favorite talking point, brand ambassador, and ratings cheat code all in one. Instead, she chose peace. And Stephen A. does not respect peace. What followed was less analysis and more performance art. She didn't storm out like a reality TV contestant. She simply opted out, Calmly, rationally, with the unmistakable energy of someone who knows exactly what she's doing and doesn't need a permission slip from daytime television.
Ticket prices, television ratings, it's a fact. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. That's not to throw shade on a product and act like it doesn't grow at all. It's not to say that there wasn't improvement and there wasn't an elevation in its popularity. It's just saying that it's on another dimension when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Do you know what the best thing that could happen for the WNBA is right now? Are you ready for this? If Caitlin Clark...
And that's the real crime. Sports media can forgive drama. It practically thrives on it. What it cannot forgive is autonomy. Especially when that autonomy belongs to a player who's been marketed as the savior of an entire league. The ratings lifeline, the walking endorsement deal, the reason cameras suddenly remembered women's basketball exists. Stephen A. Smith wasn't reacting to a roster move. He was reacting to a disruption of the narrative, the carefully scripted story where Caitlin Clark shows up, dominates, waves the flag, and everyone else falls into line. That script got tossed straight into the shredder, and the sound you heard was Stephen A.'s blood pressure spiking. Because once you strip away the yelling, the outrage boils down to one uncomfortable truth. Caitlin Clark flipped the equation. She chose rest. She chose focus. She chose her long-term career over a short-term spectacle. And somehow that was framed as selfish. Stephen A.'s reaction made it sound like she personally canceled Christmas.
Do not blame her. I applaud it. I say do it. Get as far away from the WNBA as you can. Let that league sink. Okay, do not help them, Caitlin, get away. I believe you could create your own league, okay? You could be the fucking player that creates whatever, the next professional women's basketball league. Let this one just go and let Caitlin try to build the next WNBA. I don't know what we'll call it. Maybe we can even do 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, something.
Thick enough to rebound off the rim. For decades, athletes have been told to protect their bodies, manage their workload, think long-term, until they actually do it. Then it suddenly becomes a character flaw, a lack of commitment. Somehow, disrespectful to a jersey that will still exist tomorrow, next year, and long after the talking heads have moved on to the next outrage cycle. What really set the tone was the underlying message. Caitlin Clark owed something. Not to her team, not to her health, but to the spectacle, to the cameras, to the endless debate panels that need her name in the headline to justify their airtime. Stephen A. Smith didn't have to say it out loud, the part about being overused, about how the league failed to protect its biggest star. The outrage would simply change costumes, and she robbed them of that angle too. By stepping away on her own terms, Caitlin Clark denied the media its favorite pastime, blaming everyone else. There was no villain left to attack except the player herself, and that simply would not do.
I think on both fronts, merit and publicity, you of course mentioned it, it's just a total swing and a miss by the national governing body, by USA Basketball. But I'll start with my answer by saying I have covered this women's basketball team, and I've covered it longer than anyone else probably. And what happens when you go to a women's gold medal game, U.S. women's basketball, the greatest team, most dominant team on the planet, men's, women's, any sport, Rich, I could make that case. They last lost in the 1992 Olympics. That's how good they are.
So Stephen A. Smith did what he does best. He escalated. He inflated the moment until it sounded like the fate of international basketball itself was hanging in the balance. As if Team USA, a program stacked with talent, tradition, and depth, would crumble into dust without a single player. As if the entire system existed solely for Caitlin Clark's jump shot, which ironically says more about her impact than any praise ever could. Because you don't react like that unless you know. You don't explode unless something hits close to home. And what hit was the realization that Caitlin Clark has leverage. Real leverage. The kind that doesn't need shouting to prove it exists. The league has been dining out on her presence since the moment she stepped into the spotlight. Ticket sales, eyeballs, headlines. Stephen A.'s response wasn't about patriotism. It wasn't about legacy. It wasn't even about basketball. It was about control, about who gets to decide what matters, who gets to dictate the narrative.